Welcome again back to Leonie's kitchen, in which she is preparing all these absolutely delicious suggestions for meals for us. I took on one of her suggestions last week and equipped myself with all the ingredients that I needed for the chicken curry. That required me to buy coconut milk. I've never bought that before or eaten it. Anyway, I made it as per her very clear and very precise instructions, and I can honestly say it was delicious. So I'm very grateful to Leonie because I do eat chicken most weeks, and this is another way for me to eat it with a bit of taste and colour and excitement. And they're all the things that Leonie is very strong on: colour, taste and excitement. So today she's going to do a celeriac stew, and she's going to follow that with what sounds like a dreamy dessert, which is an avocado and chocolate mousse. I can't wait to see how that works. That sounds amazing. So over to you, Leonie. And as I said, thank you for the recipe for the chicken curry.
That's a pleasure, and I'm so glad that you made it, Tricia, because it is delicious and it's easy. And if there's too much, you can freeze it as well if you don't want to eat it the next day. So that's fantastic. Well, welcome to the Eatwright kitchen, also for your viewers. Where today we're going to make two recipes, as Tricia pointed out: a celeriac stew and an avocado chocolate mousse. And I will start with the celeriac stew. So for that, you will need a celeriac. I bought a medium size one. You have them in big sizes, small sizes, but go for a medium size one. You'll need some mushrooms, about 250 grams, but the quantities will be, of course, in the recipe below. We need a leek, a large one or two small ones, really, really good for you. Some butter from grass-fed cows. That's what I always try to get. There's a wonderful butter called Dissigny. It's French. It's readily available in the supermarket, and I buy the salt-free version. I'm using some thyme. I've got some fresh thyme from my garden, which I've just picked up and cleaned. I'm using a stock cube, which I've mixed with about 100 milliliters of water. The stock cubes that I recommend and that are gluten-free and are the best for you are called Callo. This one is one in low in salt, because then you can add your own salt if you want, your Himalayan salt. Now, I don't know, have you ever cooked with a celeriac, Tricia?
No, I honestly haven't. And do you know what? I was very confused because you just showed us that, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's not what I was expecting. So I was expecting, what was I expecting? What's that vegetable that tastes of aniseed?
Well, this tastes of aniseed. Is it a turnip, maybe?
No, it's not a root. No. I don't think it. I'm not sure it's a root vegetable. It's sort of bulb shaped and fennel. That's what I was getting confused about. So when you said celeriac stew, I thought, oh, it's that stuff that you know that's green and it's got that aniseed taste. So yes, well, who knew?
I have, by the way, a very lovely recipe of fennel in my recipe book, so maybe we'll do that another time. So this is a celeriac. It's also a root vegetable and also tastes a bit nutty and a bit like an aniseed, and it is a bit of an undervalued vegetable. It's used a lot in Eastern European countries, but in England we don't use it a lot. But it's full of fiber, and it's a very good replacement for potatoes as well. You can make it into a mash, you can roast it, you can boil it. Now, if you see it, normally you said the green stuff, there is a green sort of spray of leaves on top of it. But when we buy it in the supermarket, it's always cut off. The problem with it is that it's quite difficult to clean. So I'll show you how I do it. Different chefs have done it different ways, and I looked it up. But I find for me, this is the easiest one. So, but I'm going to start with cutting up my leek. If you clean a leek, this is a tip that I got from Jamie Oliver. It's always that the mud is at the end. And what I do is I cut it in a slither like that in the middle, open it up, and then you put that under the tap and you clean it. So you don't need to wet the whole leek. And it's much easier than if you have to do leaves individually. Right, so I'm going to turn you to my chopping board. Did you have any questions, Tricia?
No.
Okay, all right. So you now know what the celeriac is, which is fantastic. I think you can see me like this, yeah? So I'm taking the end bit off. I try as much as possible to use most of the leek. So I'm just cutting this in thin slices. I love making soup with it, and I love the combination of leek and mushrooms as well. Leek is a very good vegetable full of vitamin A, C and K, and is very good for your blood cells. It's full of iron, and that's very important at these times, and very good for the brain because it contains something called magnesium, which is good for brain health, so to protect you from dementia or Alzheimer. It's very simple to cut a leek. What I do normally when I come towards the end, I take the outer bits off because they're a bit hard. And then I just cut it right to the end. Being Dutch, we don't throw anything away. There we are. So I'll just put that in a bowl for later. And then we get on to the celeriac. What I've seen chefs do is just to cut the outsides off. But what I do is I will just cut the end bit off. And then the other side as well. You can see how hard it is because the mushroom, so I slice it in bits like that, makes it much easier,
right,
to cut it up. You have to be quite strong, so it's a good exercise, this.
You need sharp knife.
You definitely need a sharp knife. And what I then do is I take the outer side off. So I'll just peel it like this. And then you can easily put it into cubes because that's what we're going to do. About 2.5 till 2 centimeter cubes. That's what we want. As I said, a celeriac is really healthy for you. It's full of vitamin K, which is good for the bones. And we need that. And also very good for your immune system. And it's better for you than potato. I make it sometimes in a mash. And I add some horseradish with it, which is absolutely fantastic. Really nice and tasty.
If you were cooking it for a mash, would you just boil it like you do potatoes?
Absolutely. You just boil it in water for about 20 minutes. It needs a little bit less. Then you pour off the water. And then I put, well, salt and pepper and some horseradish to it. And sometimes some thyme as well, which is really nice. I also have a lovely recipe in my recipe book, which is celeriac and sweet potato gratin. So you can use it for a gratin as well. It's very, very versatile. And you can put it in salads. You can have it raw. And in one of the recipes, which I've not got in my recipe book, I've actually cut it up in very thin slices, like, and then you can, like this, and then you can make it into tagliatelle. So it's very, very versatile. It's just a lovely dish.
And presumably you could put that into soup as well.
Certainly, you can do anything you like with it. And as I said, it's better than potatoes because it's got no starch in there. And
so it's not a starchy vegetable. It's grown under. It's grown under the ground, presumably, like potatoes. I always thought that things that grew under the ground tended to be the starchy ones, but I'm probably wrong about that. So
that is mostly the case because beetroots are, parsnips are, carrots are, but the celeriac is growing on the top, and the roots are going in the earth. So it's not really. How do you say, the tuber or the bulb is on top of the earth.
Okay, so it's not really a root vegetable as such. So
they do call it a root vegetable when you look it up, but yeah, the roots, of course, of the celeriac go into the earth. Maybe that's why, I don't know.
It looks a bit like a turnip or a swede, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. But it's lower in sugar, lower glycemic index. So that means that it doesn't raise your blood sugar level so much.
Okay.
Right. So, sorry.
Is it expensive to buy, or is it similar to potato?
No, no. It's you saw the little bull pie head?
Yeah.
That's about £1.
Okay.
So it's really, really cheap and very filling. It is just really good for. It's full of vitamin C. It's got potassium in there, which is very good for the heart. It's a very good protein, as you said. You can put it in soups. Vitamin K, which is very good for the bones, and also full of fiber, so very good for your digestive system. And overall, it's just a fantastic vegetable. So yeah.
Thank you.
So that is the celeriac. Last time we made a dish before with mushrooms. I've already sliced them up, and I recommend that people don't wash the mushrooms with water. And one of the Super Trooper ladies actually said that was something she had never heard before, but it makes just your dish taste much nicer. So just use some kitchen towel, and then you slice up the mushroom like that.
Okay.
Okay, so I've done the most of them beforehand, trying not to let them fall out of my bowl. Right, so that's the preparation done. It's very quick. And I'm now going to start to do the cooking. So I'm going to turn you around and I'll show you how you can make it. It's really easy. And the thing is, what I find with vegetables, often people say vegetables are boring, but they're not. You have to just make them appetizing by adding herbs, spices, and other stock and other ingredients. Right, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to put 2 tablespoons, well, to turn the cooker on a medium till low heat, and we put the butter in. A little bit to melt. As I said, I'm a fan of grass-fed butter. Do you use butter at all, Tricia?
I do use butter, yes.
Yeah.
I try and use a small amount.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting, the grass-fed thing. I remember seeing that about on a television program with Michael Mosley when he was talking about the sort of best ways to have animal fat, and talking about grass-fed cows. And also there's a thing for steaks as well, where your steaks come from.
That's true. That's the same. That's also the best from animals that have been grass-fed. And why they say that is because that's how naturally the animal would have its food. Often beef in certain countries is force-fed with food that normally an animal wouldn't really eat. So that's always better to have meat, fish that is reared in its normal way. So this is just nearly melted. So the first thing I'm going to do is the celeriac, and I just fry that for a little bit. So you give that a bit of a stir. It doesn't need to cook so long because initially you're going to add the other vegetables in a minute, and then you just need to put it over a low heat for a while. But while that comes to that, we will make the chocolate mousse, so then you can see the end result. So you just stir that around a little bit. We're going to put the leek. This is roughly for 2 people, but you can never have too many vegetables. So I don't be too precise about quantity.
Would you serve this alongside some protein?
Absolutely. Although the celeriac, as I said before, does contain protein, I would serve it. It's delicious. I know that you like salmon. Mm-hmm. It's delicious with salmon or trout. The combination of celeriac with trout, very good one. I don't know, do you ever eat trout?
Probably. Oh, I have eaten trout, but it's not something that I buy on a regular basis.
Well, it might just be a nice change from having salmon. It looks at least the same color.
Yeah, so absolutely.
We give it a bit of a stir. Then I'm going to add the thyme leaves. I have fresh thyme in my garden, so I took some of the leaves already. Thyme is a very good combination with celeriac.
Presumably, if you didn't have any fresh thyme in your garden, which I certainly don't, you could put in dried thyme.
Yeah, you can buy fresh thyme in the supermarket, but of course, if you have it in a pot dried, that's fine as well. No problem at all. So we leave that there. It's already looking quite colorful. And for the final ingredient, I've made this before. This is about 100 milliliter, and it's a vegetable stock. So that's just now going to simmer for about 10 minutes. So in that time, we will make the chocolate mousse. Turn it again up to medium heat. You can just leave it like that because the liquid of the mushrooms will go in there, so it won't sort of burn, right? Okay, so that's that one. I'll just leave that on the side for later so I can show you. Time for the chocolate mousse. So it's a bit different from what you are normally used to, because normally you would make chocolate mousse with sugar and eggs, but they are not coming inside in this recipe. So what I'm making it with is an avocado. So I've got an avocado pear, a ripe one, a banana, just a whole one. This recipe is for 2 people. I'm using, you will probably have some, well, you finished your coconut milk, Tricia, but if you would have had some left, 4 tablespoons of coconut milk. Then I'm using raw cacao powder. Have you ever used raw cacao powder?
No.
No, okay. Raw cacao powder is like cocoa, but it's a better quality because it's not processed. It's got no added sugar, and it looks like that. So it looks very much the same. And it's full of manganese, which is very good for the brain, and also full of copper, which is good for your immune system. So it's much better to use this. There's no sugar added to it, so it's pure nature. It's just fermented and roasted. And talking about that, cocoa nibs, they're small little ingredients, like before they're made into powder, they make them into nibs, and you can sprinkle them instead of like you have the little chocolate buttons and things. Instead of that is a very good alternative. And again, no sugar in there. I'm using some blueberries for decoration, some fresh blueberries, but you can use frozen as well. And then some desiccated coconut to garnish. So that are the ingredients. Right, let me just put everything on the plate.
So in that recipe, you're basically using the banana for sugar and the avocado for fat. Yeah,
and of course, do you eat avocado?
Yes, I love avocado. And
yeah, how often do you eat it?
Not at this time of the year so much, but during the summer I would eat it a lot. So yeah.
You put it in salads, or how would you eat it?
I would eat it mostly in as part of a salad.
Yeah. Or I like it also when it's stuffed with some prawns. I like that combination a lot, avocados, and it's a bit of an old-fashioned combination, but it's absolutely lovely.
That's very 1970s, and when we first discovered avocados, I'd never had an avocado probably before 1970, whenever, and so opening it up and then using the well where the stone had gone for filling up with rosemary, Mary Rose sauce, you mix
tomato ketchup and mayonnaise,
and put it onto your prawns and then piled it into your avocado and served it as a starter for a very sophisticated dinner party.
I know. I like it also in a guacamole with some tomatoes, and it's lovely, and some onion. It's just really nice, and it's a very healthy vegetable, fruit. It's not a vegetable actually, but I'll tell you a little bit more. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. The avocado, how do you clean your avocado? Do you peel the skin off, or?
No, I would. I think many people have had injuries this way, but so I'd slice it open, and then you've got the big, the big stone in the middle, and then you push to get the stone out of the other side. And Jamie Oliver shows that he sort of bashes his extremely sharp knife into the stone, and then it lifts free. Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
Good luck
it has always worked for me.
Apparently, more people have been in hospital using that method to take the stone out of an avocado than any other. So I'm quite cautious with that. So I would tend to spoon and just spoon it out.
Spoon it out. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you how I do it. So let me turn you around again, and I hope it's going to work. So how I.
We'll have our phones ready for 999, okay?
For 1 minute, Tricia, I was going to think that you were going to say, "Oh, I buy my avocado cut up in the supermarket," but
even I don't buy my avocados ready prepared.
Okay, so I cut it in half. Yeah. So that's 1/2. That's 1/2, and now comes the trick. So a really, really sharp knife. You really bash it in there. And there you are. Yeah. So that was lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, how do you get it off the knife? That's another thing. So how I prepare the avocado is I slice it in little parts, so I don't spoon it out. And then I take the skin off. And if it's a ripe avocado, you can easily do that. It's very simple. Avocado is a lot of people think, and it is true, avocado is full of fat and they don't eat it. But actually, avocado helps you to make fuller for longer. And in that way can be beneficial to weight loss. So this is just an interesting fact.
The way that I see it is that if the fat is coming from a vegetable source like an avocado, that it's considerably better for you than sitting and eating the sort of rind on your bacon. You know what I mean? It feels like a healthier form of fat intake. And as you say, you need a certain amount of fat in your diet, and it does. It increases satisfaction in taste, but also, of course, it helps to keep you fuller for longer. I went stayed with. I have had family in South Africa, and they had an avocado tree in their garden, and it was absolutely incredible. In the 1970s, I'd practically never seen an avocado, and then this was in the late 1980s that I went and stayed with them, and then I saw them actually growing on a tree, and she'd go out and pick one for supper. So that was quite amazing.
I mean, you saw them hanging on trees, which is fantastic. But an avocado is very, very beneficial for your health. As you said, it's a plant-based fat. It's a saturated fat, but keeps you very much full. And also, it's very important for people who suffer from arthritis. So it can be beneficial for arthritis sufferers. It's very good for your digestion and full of fiber, vitamins A, C, and K, and again, good for the bones. So it's a fantastic fruit to have. If you eat it, I would recommend not to have more than half an avocado a day. So then you're always stuck with the other half. And what do you do with the other half? Because when you put it in the fridge, just on its own, it becomes brown at the top. A really good way to store it is to put it in a bowl with water and cover the whole avocado with water, and then it doesn't change color. You can put a little bit of lemon in if you want, but you don't really need to. So, and then put it in an airtight container so you don't have a brown avocado. I don't like a brown avocado. But, do you eat a whole avocado at once?
No, I would tend to eat it in 2 goes, but if I have it one day, then I'll have it for the next. And what I've done, if it's gone a bit brown, I just slice the brown bit off. And
yeah, that's what I do. Right, so the next thing we're going to cut is the banana. I've got one here. Try to find a ripe one. Mine is a little bit green, but the more yellow and the more brown they are, the more sweet they are. So I'm going to mash this one up with a knife. just to make it a bit finer so that it will mix easier in my for my mousse. It's very easy with a fork. And I was trying to think what's the best way for me to do this, is to actually do it in a bowl rather than on a plate. So I'm adding that to the avocado. I'm just going to turn my vegetables a bit low, that's it. Then the next ingredient that I'm going to put in is the coconut milk, 4 tablespoons. And then the cacao.
So you buy the cacao in the supermarket, presumably, and that's easily available.
Well, I try to share with all the recipes that I do, I try to make them that people can find them easily in the supermarket, because otherwise it will be an extra hindrance for them to buy the ingredients. So the next thing I'm going to put in is stevia. That's the natural sweetener that I use. I do about 5 till 7 drops. And of course, this doesn't raise your blood sugar level. So the only ingredients I leave out are the desiccated coconut, the blueberries, and the cocoa nibs. So if you have, I believe you have a hand blender at home?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so this is another way for you to maybe make some mousse. And the thing is, you should have put the cacao in first, because otherwise it flies all over your chopping board. But here we are. I'm going to turn this on. You see the consistency?
Yeah, looks amazing.
Really looks like a chocolate mousse. So I'm just going to take the outsides off. And it's an excellent consistency. It's just so smooth and yummy. So I stir this a little bit. You can see it probably. Right, now the next thing is I'm going to decorate it or put it in 2 glasses. This recipe is for 2 people. So I spoon some in here. You can also use this as a chocolate paste, by the way. So put it on a cracker or on bread.
Sort of like Nutella, only harder.
Yeah. Only a little bit healthier. That's a lot healthier actually, because Nutella is full of sugar, as you probably know.
I do, yes, I do. I can't have Nutella in the cupboard. I tend to, if I have Nutella in the cupboard, I'll open it up and think I'll just tidy it up, which means eating spoons. You know, I sort of go around the edge to keep tidying it up. Oh, I need to tidy this bit up now. And lo and behold, I've eaten a huge amount of it. It
is very high in sugar. And it's basically, I don't like it at all, but I would never recommend people having it because there's so many nasty ingredients in it. Right, so I try to do it a bit more neatly than I normally do, but this is how I would serve it. So then I would put some blueberries on the top.
Yeah.
You can put raspberries as well, if that's what you like. Option is yours. You can put strawberries on, any berries will do really. There we are, equal, and then put some desiccated coconut on it.
Those cocoa nibs, are they sweet?
They're not sweet. They taste like cacao. They taste like chocolate.
Yeah. So
it's probably the equivalent of 85 till 90% chocolate. So this is what they look like. Look how pretty it looks. So it's excellent. And if you have red berries, you can put them on top as well.
Yeah,
So
they look amazing. I'd really love to taste those. That it would be a very interesting thing to do, because you've put some really interesting ingredients in there. So just imagining how all of those meld and blend together. Yeah, I might have a go at that.
Well, Tricia, it's easy. You like avocado. Avocados are readily available in the supermarket. Banana, most people have a banana in the house. You have a hand blender and just try. But the only thing you will need to get is probably cacao. Don't put Nutella in.
No, I won't put Nutella.
You want to have a healthy version.
I won't. The only other thing, the stevia, where do you get that from?
Well, I import it from Holland. You can get it online, but if you want it, it's best to order it through my website. Okay. The reason being is that I can stand for this. I can 100% say that this is 100% pure natural stevia. There are a lot of products on the market that contain stevia, the real stevia, but then they add additives to it to fill it up, because it is quite expensive. Although this is 30 milliliters, it's 300 times stronger than sugar, so you only need a little bit. So in the long term, it's actually worth getting it. It's only £6.
Okay, so that would last a long time if you're just using drops.
A long time, yeah. For this recipe, I used 5 till 7 drops. So it's very little, and it's 30 milliliters, so it will keep you going for a long time. Okay, well, we have just made this lovely chocolate mousse. In the meantime, the celeriac stew has been cooking away on my stove, and it's now finished. So this is the end product. That is the celeriac stew. Lovely with some fish, some trout, as I said before. Celeriac and fish does really go well together. So that was the recipes for today.
Leonie, that looks absolutely delicious, really, really lovely, and a beautiful accompaniment to my salmon, which I do find quite boring sometimes. We had somebody called Lynn who made your tuna bite, but she made it, as you suggested, in a single dish. And she said she and her husband had really, really enjoyed it. So we're definitely inspiring you out there, I think, with some different dishes, perhaps something that you wouldn't have thought of doing before. And they're turning out to be incredibly successful. I think that's what's so reassuring for me, Leonie, and must be for you, that when people, try and make these things at home in their own kitchens, they're having great success with them.
Yeah, so, I got a lovely email from one of the super troopers. She said to me, I've just received your book, and within the next 20 minutes, I had already made 2 pancakes. Me and my husband loved it, and we'll definitely make more of the recipe. So that for me is just like, wow, that is for me such a compliment. And also the red pepper soup is a big hit. I got lots of comments on that, people liking it. What I'm trying to do basically is to make recipes that are healthy for you, but still very tasty. So like the chocolate mousse, it's a well-known dessert, but you can make a chocolate mousse healthy by using avocado and banana, and explore some new vegetables like the celeriac. So it's wonderful when people love it. So
absolutely, 100%. So thank you very much indeed again, Leonie. Next week you said something about chicken pie.
Chicken pie and apple and oat muffins.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So we'll very much look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you again for today. And I'm definitely inspired now to do that chocolate mousse. So
well, you have the recipe book, Tricia, so you can find the recipe in there.
I've got the recipe book, and maybe what I'll have to commit to doing is bringing it along as soon as I've made it, and as soon as I've got all the ingredients and made it, I'll actually show it in one of these sessions just to prove that I've made it.
Yeah, you must, and you can make it. You can make it the evening before if you want. Yeah. It just might be a chance that the avocado turns a little bit brown, but because of the chocolate around it, you won't see it.
Nobody will notice. No. So bye bye, Leonie, and thank you again. Bye bye.
It's a pleasure. Bye bye.